The short story Squatter, from the book Tales from Firozsha Baag, was written by Rohinton Mistry and published in 1987. The book was shortlisted for the Canadian Governor-General's Award for Best Fiction. Mistry was born in India and migrated to Canada to further his education. Mistry's novels are often imbued with political and religious themes, and also tropes of cultural displacement and the migrant search for a new identity. Squatter tells the story of a Parsi Indian community in Bombay. One of the main characters is Nariman, a retiree who tells stories to the boys of the housing complex. Nariman reveals a post-colonial double consciousness. He displays a love of Indian food and customs, yet he calls his Mercedes the apple of his eye, almost inferring that he's been tempted by the apple of westernisation and swallowed a piece of it. This manifests in Nariman relishing his extensive English lexicon and perfect grasp of the language, and how he interweaves his stories with references from English literature such as Othello. He also sings songs infused with colonial themes and even whistles a military-type march from the song The Bridge on the River Kwai. His character seems to contrast the innocent Indian domestic space of the compounded community, in which women and children are safe from the outside world. Yet Nariman isn't depicted as the antagonist, only one whom, like the bridge in the song he whistles about, is like a bridge between two cultures, the one inside the compound and the one outside. The stories Nariman tells present dichotomies of the colonised and colony, Indian and Canadian, truth and untruth, place and displacement. In the first story that Nariman tells, cricket heroes are presented, and a character called Savakshaw, the unknown underdog, miraculously leads the Indian cricket team out of a potentially humiliating defeat to the English. At first, the English were winning by 497 runs, which is an interesting use of numbers considering India gained independence in 1947, a display of the same three numbers. Then Savakshaw had his turn to bat and hits a bullet-like shot towards a character described as a Brobdingnagin, which is a reference to the English book Gulliver's Travels. The Brobdingnagins were a giant-like race of people who are ferocious and warlike. Yet Savakshaw's shot brings down this Goliath-type character, spilling his orange-red blood down his white clothing, which then ran onto the green grass. These three colours of red, orange, white and green are a reference to the colours of the Indian flag after independence and the death of the British Empire in India. After Savakshaw's victory, he successfully goes on to become a sporting great, and the story ends in a hunting scene where, unafraid, Savakshaw is aligned with the ferocious, famous national symbol of India, the tiger. In this story, a post-colonial narrative is revealed in which India's victory of independence is displayed and its strong future assured through decolonisation. During Nariman's storytelling, interruptions often occur, and in a particular incident, a mother tries to call her son away from the gathering of boys, but she is quickly reminded of her experience with the Ayan Bhoot meaning ghost in Hindi, and quickly she gives her acquiescence to the boy's demand to stay and listen, for she does not want to resurrect the past, or the Ayan Bhoot, which sounds much like an Aryan Bhoot, or ghost, or perhaps the white ghost of colonisation. The former story of Indian nationalism is contrasted by the tale of Firozsha, an Indian migrant and his troubles in Toronto. The story starts with Firozsha sitting on a white toilet, or white imperial throne, unable to relieve himself in the Western way. The only way he could experience a catharsis is if he reverted to the Indian way of squatting. trapped inside this cubicle or white space. His Indian construct of self threatens to be flushed away by westernization. Therefore, he is stuck, poised over a white precipice, while deep inside he is desperately feeling the pressure to hold on to his Indian identity. Meanwhile, the young boys listening to this story try to stifle their laughter, and we become privy to the thoughts of one of these characters as he reveals his admiration of Nariman's narrative technique, and that Nariman tells funny incidents in serious ways, or significant matter in a light and playful way with ambiguity and unpredictability. His comment reveals the didactic nature of the tale, and that the story Nariman is telling contains a message of significance encoded in a playful way. Nariman further reveals that the protagonist changed his name to Sid while in Canada, no doubt as a desire to belong and an attempt to experience Western authenticity. Yet, Nariman stresses that he will use his proper Parsi Indian name of Firozsha in the story, which Nariman feels is true authenticity. Firozsha, Nariman continues, made a vow on a Parsi prayer book to his mother that if he didn't assimilate into Canadian society within 10 years, he would return home. This vow hangs over Firozsha with the presence and sharpness of a guillotine, ready to decapitate his hope and dream of successfully migrating to a Western culture. Firozsha does honour his vow, which imbibes him with a truthful yet troubled Indian persona, surrounded and contrasted with the insidious untruths of the place he migrated to. Canada, or the West, according to the story, likes the ideology of a mosaic, multicultural, post-colonial society, but in reality, Firozsha and his cultural self are met with xenophobia, hostility, and the label of bloody ethnic. Firozsha visits the Immigration Aid Society. Here, a female Indian immigrant tells him of many cases whereby migrants have been helped by Dr. No Laz, including one of an individual who could not digest Wonder white bread. The bread that, if you consume it, makes families happy, yet those who don't remain unhappy. Thus, Mrs. Mahalapati represents a complicit agent of empire by her statement that the ultimate goal is pure Wonder White, or, in other words, the ultimate goal is to lose your Indian identity and become westernized. Dr. No Laz describes a contraption that could fix Firozsha's problem, that is, the Crapus Non-Interruptus, or CNI, which would open Firozsha's bowels like a garage door. This statement can relate back to Firozsha's mother's comment, in which she tells him, "It is better to live in want among your friends and family who love you and care for you than to be unhappy surrounded by vacuum cleaners that suck away your identity, and dishwashers that clean the ethnic filth away, and big shiny motor cars, the symbol of Western achievement and progress that need to become you." Firozsha refuses, and consequently, he returns home. While in a space between Canada and India, a no man's land, he finally experiences a breakthrough, but he is too late. This signifies an identity crisis and disintegration. His catharsis didn't occur in a white Canadian space, nor an Indian space. His identity is now captured in an in-between place. The rest of the story finds Firozsha downcast, dishevelled and depressed, unable to fit into either culture. Thus, he has become a displaced man. This echoes Mistry's plight, a man who feels he occupies an unidentifiable in-between space. Therefore, Squatter reveals the space that migrants can occupy, a difficult space in which identities are ambiguous, hard to define, and in a constant state of flux between cultures. Here, migrants feel alienated and unable to belong. They experience displacement in both cultural spaces.